A lot of the trends that have grown really big in the past couple of years can make curly hair care way more complicated than it needs to be. Some of them will just make you a little bit frustrated, but there are a few that can actually damage your hair. While you may see things like curl training, no poo, curly girl method, bond builder everywhere, and be enticed to follow these things because it seems like everyone else is doing it, you might want to think twice about that. So here are 8 curly hair trends that we can leave in the past and move forward, along with what you can do instead. Now this first one, I know some people are probably going to disagree with me on, but it is curl training. Curl training is when you manipulate your curls to force them into a perfect pattern. So this means that you are finger coiling, brush styling, that kind of thing. And the idea is that over time, the more you do this to your hair, there's even a theory about doing it when you deep condition. So you apply your deep conditioner and then you finger coil all of your curls into perfect little clumps. And the idea is over time, your hair develops like curl memory and it starts to curl this way. But that's not how hair works. There is no science to support this. And it continues to push this idea of perfect curly hair, which is not something that exists. Remember that curls are naturally inconsistent, they're frizzy. It is normal to have multiple curl patterns on your head, and by manipulating them and forcing them all to be more uniform and perfect, it's really just a temporary fix. The second you wash your hair, it's gonna revert back to its natural state. Now, I'm not saying that you can't manipulate your curls. You can totally finger coil, brush style, whatever it is you wanna do to make your curls look as nice as you want them to do. But what I am saying is that this idea of curl training your hair, meaning you're doing this on a regular basis over time in the hopes that eventually you won't have to do it because your hair will remember this, that's not the case. So if you've been doing curl training, I recommend you stop doing that. It's okay, like I said, to manipulate your hair a little bit when you style it. So you can definitely do things like raking, scrunching, brush styling, finger coiling, as much or as little as you want. But I encourage you to work with your natural curl pattern and enhance what's already there instead of trying to force it to be something that it isn't. Over time, yes, your hair will probably get healthier and it will curl better and it will have less frizz and it might even appear curlier than it is now. That is something that happens with time of you taking care of your hair properly and the health of your hair improving. So don't obsess about this and remember that variation and frizz are totally normal with curly hair. The second one is only using curl cream to style your hair. I've talked about this before and I even have a whole video on why you might want to skip curl cream altogether. But this idea that curl cream is the styler for curly hair is very outdated. This goes back to the beginning of the curly hair movement where it was believed that all curly hair needs is just a little bit of moisture. And if you put some cream, some moisturizing stuff in your curls, then it's just naturally going to look curlier and frizz-free and look beautiful all the time. But again, that's not how curly hair works. Curl cream is fantastic for enhancing your curl pattern, moisturizing your hair, and reducing frizz, but it is not something that results in longevity or hold. So if you use curl cream alone, most people will experience that it will look great at first, maybe for the first day or two, but very, very quickly it starts to break down where you get frizz, fluffiness, you lose structure, your curls start to stretch out, and your style just generally doesn't last very long. The reason that is because curl cream is a moisturizing product. It is not a product that holds your curl. It doesn't prevent frizz from happening. It doesn't prevent your curl from drooping. It just helps to lock in moisture. And that's just one thing that curly hair needs. Most people with curly hair are going to need some type of hold as well. So I recommend that instead of just using curl cream, you add a lightweight gel or mousse on top of it to help lock in the style. You're gonna find that your style lasts a lot longer so you don't have to refresh, or if you do, it's a lot less. You're gonna have less frizz and you're gonna have an easier time styling your hair. And if your hair is really soft and fine like mine, you may even find that you do better without any curl cream at all. The third thing is saying that wavy hair isn't curly. So this isn't really something you do to your hair, but it's something that you do to the curly hair community. And this gatekeeping about what is considered curly or not is really just ridiculous. Wavy hair is part of the spectrum of textured hair. It starts with waves and it increases and it gets curlier until you get to the kinky curls. These are all types of curls. It doesn't matter. Now, not all the same things work across the board. That is true. Things that work for people with wavy hair may not work for people with kinky hair. Yes, but that's not always the case. Sometimes they do work. It depends on a lot more than just your curl pattern. Remember, you have porosity, density, texture, the health of your hair, the weather. There's so many things that affect how your curls appear and behave and what types of products and styling techniques you use, that just looking at the curl pattern is really not enough. So what I want you to remember is that wavy hair is part of the curly hair community. don't tell people with wavy hair that they don't have curly hair. They deserve just as much care and representation because their hair is very similar to curly hair. There's a lot of things that it has in common, and it's just a different way of caring for textured hair. And though it has different needs than much tighter curls, it is still considered curly hair. So go ahead and support diverse content that includes wavy, curly, and coily hair types. The fourth thing is bond builder everything. And I've noticed for the past 2 years, every single company seems to be coming out with some type of bond building product ever since Olaplex launched their bond building, and that kind of exploded and went viral. Now everybody has bond building products, and they're marketing it to us as if we all need all these bond building products. I mean, there's bond building shampoos, conditioners, leave-in treatments, gels. It's just like an overload of bond building. There's absolutely no need to treat every wash day like a recovery session. Like they say, too much of anything can be a bad thing, and that includes bond building. Not everybody needs bond builders, first off. So bond building is only for certain hair types. Typically, people who color their hair and have that damage are the ones that are going to need bond builders. But a bond building treatment is not something that you should be doing every wash day anyway. Too much of it can make your hair stiff, dry, and kind of have those effects of like too much protein in your routine. So these routines or these companies that are coming out with full lines of bond building products, I think it's overkill. It's not necessary. They're just creating more products and convincing us that we need them when we really don't. So if you are somebody who does require bond building products, then go ahead and use bond building treatment on a regular basis, like once a week, typically is what's recommended. If your hair is really damaged, you can do it 2 to 3 times a week, but you just need the actual treatment. You don't need to have a full line of bond building products. And again, if your hair is not damaged, you don't need bond building products. The fifth thing is super long wash day routines. I've talked about this a couple of times. I hate these very long wash day routines. I think because most of us don't have time for that. I certainly would not want to be spending 1 or 2 hours on my hair multiple times a week, but also it's just this idea that it is a requirement. So it's totally okay to spend as much time as you want on your hair. If you want to have a 2-hour routine and that makes you feel good, that's fine. I'm happy for you. That's great. But it's this idea that we all need to spend so much more time on our hair, and these very lengthy routines are the solution to all of our hair problems. That's the idea that I'm targeting here. There's no need for your wash day routines to every single time have a pre-poo, multiple conditioners and treatments, a bunch of leave-in products, and multiple styling products. That's just overkill. Again, this overcomplication of routines really makes it feel like a chore for a lot of people, and it's just not realistic. So my recommendation is, if you want to have a long routine, go ahead. If you don't want to have a long routine, then you can keep it simple. All you need is something to wash your hair, something to condition your hair, and something to style your hair. You can choose multiple products in these categories, but you don't need it. 1 shampoo, 1 conditioner, and 1 styling product is really all you need. Focus on the quality and the application. So it's not how many products you're using, but are you using the right products for your hair, and are you applying them correctly? Because you can have a fantastic $50 gel, but if you're not applying it to your hair correctly, it's really not going to make that much of a difference. So really make sure that you're focusing on the application of the products. You're going to get a lot more out of that. And find a realistic balance that works for your schedule. So maybe sometimes you can do a long routine, maybe once a week, and you can do quicker routines the other days. Maybe you just do it once a month because you absolutely hate it. You never do it. You do it every time. Just find what works for you. The next one is the trend of no shampoo, avoiding shampoo in general and only using co-wash to wash your hair. Again, this is a topic that I've talked about before. It is not for everyone. It's actually not really recommended for most people, because it's not really washing your scalp. You need to wash your scalp with an actual shampoo that suds, lathers, and removes all of the buildup to have a healthy scalp so you can grow healthy hair. Co-washing strictly, like you only co-wash, doesn't really work for most people. There are a few people that can work for, but most people need more than that. And that's because, again, co-washing does not remove buildup, sweat, or scalp oils over time. It removes some of it, but not all of it. And so after some time, you're gonna lead to a lot of buildup on your scalp that's gonna lead to a lot of problems. So my recommendation is to, again, find what works for you. You can co-wash if you like co-washing, and every once in a while throw in a stronger shampoo, like a clarifying shampoo, just to make sure that you are removing that buildup on a regular basis. For most people, you're gonna wanna use a low poo shampoo, something that's not very strong, like not a clarifying shampoo, on a regular basis. You're still gonna wanna clarify about once a month or more often, depending on your needs. And if you are somebody who washes often, then you definitely want to go with something more gentle. You can co-wash most of your wash days. If you're washing daily, for example, every 3rd or 4th wash, use a shampoo and kind of alternate like that. So if your scalp feels itchy, greasy or flaky, then it is definitely time to wash with a shampoo, not a co-wash. And again, healthy hair starts with a clean scalp, so don't be scared of shampoo. There's no need to avoid shampoo, unless you have a condition that requires you to avoid it. But for most people, that's not the case. And that leads me to the next one, which is strict curly girl method, or following the curly girl method and being like very strict about it. This means avoiding silicones, sulfates, and all heat styling, even if your hair actually benefits from them, which a lot of curly hair does. As I've said before, curly girl method is a great starting point. It's a great entry for people who are just learning about their curly hair and the curly hair world. But this one method of caring for your hair just doesn't work across the board for all curl types. Like I said earlier in the video, we have wavy, curly, coily, you have different densities, you have different textures, fine, medium, coarse, you have different porosities, and these all require wildly different needs. So it is not really, or it doesn't really make sense to say that one method of caring for hair is going to work for all of these types of hair, just because they're all curly. Here's what you can do instead. If any of these things work for you, like sulfates, silicones, and heat styling, then just keep doing them. You don't need to stop doing them because somebody told you that that's a rule. Silicones are fantastic for dealing with damaged hair, dry hair, frizzy hair, because they coat the hair, prevent tangling, prevent damage, and they actually protect the hair from a lot of this stuff, make it a lot more manageable. But if you're gonna use silicones, then just be sure that you're clarifying on a regular basis so it doesn't build up on your hair. Sulfates, again, I very strongly encourage you to clarify on a regular basis, and sulfates are clarifying, so you can use a sulfate shampoo if you really want to. And when it comes to heat styling, yes, in general, heat styling does damage your hair. But as long as you're not doing it every single time you wash your hair, it's not really something you need to worry about. If you're very concerned, if your hair is the type that gets damaged very easily, or it is damaged and you're trying to recover, then definitely use heat protectant and use low heat when you are styling. But I do want to point out that diffusing is not heat styling. So you can diffuse all you want and you do not have to worry about heat damage from diffusing. So that's not one that counts. Heat styling is like using a flat iron or a curling iron, or straightening your hair with a round brush on the dryer where it's like very close to your hair. That's considered heat styling. So really, it's just about being flexible and making your own rules, right? Making your own routine and things that work for your hair. And the last one is stretching out time between your wash days. So, going 4, 5, 6, 7 days in between wash days just because you see it on social media, that's not really ideal. If your hair feels dirty, it's weighed down, it's itchy, your scalp is really angry, it is time to wash your hair. You don't need to stretch it out. There's no reason to do that. You are not damaging. In fact, you are damaging your hair by not washing it because you're getting all that buildup on your scalp. And for a lot of people like me, it causes a lot of irritation to wait so long in between washes. I find that the more often I wash my hair, the less irritated my scalp is in general. It's much happier. If I try to stretch it out, once I hit day 3 and 4, my scalp is very angry with me. It gets itchy, flaky, and then I'm scratching it, and that's causing some damage. So you don't want to be doing that. So instead, you want to listen to your scalp and wash when you feel it's necessary. So you know the signs of when you need to wash. That's the time to wash your hair. And if you really like stretching out the time between your washes, then find things that help you get through that, like scalp sprays and dry shampoos, although I don't really recommend that very often because, again, you're applying products to your scalp that are just going to build up, but if it's every once in a while, then it's not a problem. And there is no one-size-fits-all schedule. So for some people, washing enough is going to be every 3 or 4 days. For other people, it could be every other day to even every single day. So that is unique to you and your needs. If you are somebody who spends a lot of time in a place where you are exposed to elements that dirty your hair, or if you work like in the medical field or something like that, you're probably going to have to wash your hair more often than other people. So this is the year to personalize, simplify, and enjoy your curly hair routine. Leave behind these trends that make your routine harder, more complicated, expensive, and stricter than they need to be. Your curls should fit your lifestyle, not some unrealistic beauty standards. So let me know, what's one curly hair trend that you think needs to die in 2025 in the comments below. It could be one I mentioned or one I didn't even talk about. And if you want to learn about the 10 things I quit doing to my curly hair to get me my best curls ever, then watch this video next.